In addressing this myth, it is probably best to be blunt. Augustine was a sex addict for about 17 years. His autobiography, The Confessions, one of the greatest of the great books, confesses as much. Nearly every mention of sexuality in this book is about sin, and more sin. That's probably why it's easy for many to think that Augustine thinks sex is inherently sinful. A somewhat more nuanced theory, still a bit of a misunderstanding, is that he thinks sex is inherently this worldly and therefore ungodly. A more informed theory, but likewise a bit of a misunderstanding, is that Augustine thinks sex is only good for the baby making. Now, let's look at some passages in his books. Here is Henry Chadwick's translation published by Penguin of the Confessions. This is Book 2, Chapter 2. Augustine says, "Was there no one to lull my distress, to turn the fleeting beauty of these newfound attractions to good purpose, and set up a goal for their charms, so that the high tide of my youth might have rolled in upon the shore of marriage? The surge might have been calmed and contented by the procreation of children, which is the purpose of marriage, as your law prescribes, O Lord." Now, at this time, Augustine is describing his 16th year of life when he was basically having sex with every other girl in North Africa. And he's lamenting that no one made him settle down with a wife. There's a lesson in this text about disordered desires. The created things we humans love, instead of loving our Creator, are things we are permitted to love. We just have to subordinate our love for them to a love for God. Like C.S. Lewis says at the end of Mere Christianity, aim at heaven and you will get earth thrown in. Aim at earth and you will get neither. Now there's also a lesson here about sex. It is a gift of God for family making. Is sex good for anything else? Yes, in Augustine's views. Here is Augustine in one of his earlier writings on the good of marriage. Now, use a public domain translation here. "Forasmuch as each man is a part of the human race, and human nature is something social, and has for great and natural good the power also of friendship. On this account, God willed to create all men out of one, in order that they might be held in their society not only by likeness of kind, but also by bond of kindred. Therefore, the first natural bond of human society is man and wife. Nor did God create these each by himself and join them together as alien by birth, but he created the one out of the other. For they are joined one to another side by side, who walk together, and look together whither they walk. Then follows the connection of fellowship in children, which is the one alone worthy of fruit, not of the union of male and female, but of the sexual intercourse. For they are joined one to another side by side, who walk together and look together whither they walk. Then follows the connection of fellowship in children, which is the one alone worthy of fruit, not of the union of male and female, but of the sexual intercourse." Now, in this last sentence, he's told us that the baby making is the only unique purpose of sexual intercourse, the only purpose that sex has, but nothing else has. But that doesn't mean it's the only purpose of sex, and he tells us in the same sentence that it's not the only worthy fruit of the union of male and female, because there's also that friendship, and that friendship is a very spiritual thing. And the sex is a part of that friendship, and has that friendship for one of its purposes. It contributes to it. And look what he says about this friendship of husband and wife. He says, "For they are joined one to another side by side, who walk together and look together whither they walk." Now, just where in the mind of Augustine, the most influential Christian theologian ever, do you think they're supposed to be walking? Towards God, of course. But you can take Augustine's own word for it. Let's review Cicero. Cicero's Laelius. Cicero defines friendship in similar terms as an accord in all things, human and divine, conjoined with mutual goodwill and affection. Now, Augustine has affirmed Cicero's definition of friendship in his first surviving book, the Contra Academicos, against the academics. So, friendship is a holy activity. It's a part of the love of God. Now, when someone has as much respect, you could almost say reverence for Cicero as Augustine does, it is astonishing that he would say something like this about marriage. This exalted language about friendship is typical of the ancient moral philosophers, but it's not the sort of thing you say about people who lack virtue or who lack human excellence. And Augustine says it about husband and wife. This is about as powerful an affirmation of the value of sex, of marriage, and of womanhood as could possibly have come out of a writer of the ancient world. Augustine treats husband and wife as equal in the spiritual aspects of their friendship. And that's not much like Aristotle. And that sex is a part of the friendship. It enriches it. So this isn't a criticism of sex as inherently sinful. It's not even a reduction of sex to one of the lesser goods. This is an elevation of marital sex to the good, the true, the beautiful, the just, and the holy. Now, we don't want to lose sight of the grains of insight that are there in these misunderstandings. Marital sex for the sake of pleasure alone, as Augustine says, for the satisfying of lust, and not for the sake of having children, he does tell us is a sin. This is in the same book on the good of marriage, see paragraph 6. But it is helpful to keep in mind, not only all these other things I've said, but this particular sin is what many theologians have called a venial sin. A relatively minor one, because it doesn't do any great harm. It doesn't damage the soul. The mortal sin is to the soul what a mortal disease is to the body. It takes the life out of the body. A disease takes the life out of the body, and a mortal sin takes the life out of the soul. This sort of sin, marital sex for the sake of pleasure alone, not for the sake of having children, is to adultery what hay fever is to Ebola. If adultery is like armed bank robbery, this particular sin is like stealing a towel from a fancy hotel.